Aloha! What's up, everyone, and welcome to today's presentation where we're going to talk about orbs. We're going to talk about fiery orbs. We're going to talk about plasma and pixies and fairies and will-o-wisps and jack-o'-lanterns and all kinds of interesting stuff. But it all relates to wildfires. Let me make sure you guys can hear me. Oh, it looks like you can hear me. Okay, sweet. No technical difficulties. High five to myself. Pat myself on the back. The wildfires. Let me get this set up here real quick. I got a lot of different things I'd like to share with everyone. If you're new to my channel, welcome. I'll be presenting my own theories, what I believe are innovative and interesting theories about how these wildfires start. I mean, how many people in the chat have asked yourself, how do these wildfires start? How many wildfires have we seen? I'm just checking the chat real quick. How many wildfires have we seen? And they don't tell us how they started. Where did they come from? Who's starting these? I mean, is the world just full of that many pyromaniacs? Are they just there's pyromaniacs on the loose now? I don't think so. I think that there is a reason why so many wildfires the world across are starting, and I think that it's feasible that many of them may be starting the exact same way and naturally. So we're going to take a look at some of these examples first and foremost. I saw this, some of you guys actually showed me this, that people are noticing. These are the LA wildfires. We're going to focus on the LA ones because that's what's popular right now. That's what's in the news right now. Los Angeles is on fire. And there's been many other ones. In the past, I don't know, 3 years at least, we've had countless gigantic wildfires the world's across. But people are starting to notice weird things showing up in the smoke of the wildfires. So, for example, in this first video, keep your eyes right here, you'll see this purple light. And then you'll see an even brighter light come onto your screen. So this person's showing you the wildfire smoke. And it's not the sun. That's not the sun or anything like that. This person backs off. They're recording their own TV. Whoever made this video is recording their own television. Like, holy cow, what is that? Check that out. And the news accidentally captures all this weird stuff from time to time. You see that blue one over there. So there was a red light and a blue light. Now, with many of these examples, I will tell you that the mainstream conspiracy theorist, fringe theory type of person, many of those are going to naturally jump straight to UFOs and aliens hiding out in the fire. I have a different theory that I'll be sharing with you. But as you can see, there's blue lights over here. There was a red purplish light over there. Here's another one. Check that out. Do you see that streak? There was quite actually what appears to be, well, I'll just call it what it is. There's a light flying out of the fire and streaking, and then it adjusted. Did you see that last part? Hold on, let me rewind that. Watch its path. Watch the path of this. It's a fireball, but watch the path of this thing. So it's coming at this angle, and right about here, it's going to flatten out. So it should keep on going down here, but it doesn't. It actually changed its trajectory. Right? Now, many people might assume that that means it's some kind of a craft, but it's not some kind of a craft. I think I have another one to share with you here. Here, check this one out. So, another angle of the wildfires. And check this out. Right over here on the side. Oh, you probably can't see it. Hold on. There we go. Now, you see those? Now, some people are trying to say, oh, those are helicopters dumping water on the fire. Those are not helicopters. They don't look like helicopters to me, right? These are balls of light that are trailing something behind, as you can clearly see the trail coming off behind it like little comets, right? Headed right towards the fire, but then they quickly make a little U-turn and take off. Watch this. Shroom, shroom. All right, well, there's some more. I'm going to share many different examples of this with you guys here. Afterwards, there was loud explosions that were being heard too in Los Angeles. A lot of people hearing these loud explosions. I'll tell you what my theory on what that is. I have a theory, and it's not my theory. It's, it's just something that's been forgotten about. People forget these things from time to time. Simple truths from the ancient world, from the ancient times. We can learn from the ancient world if we pay attention. All right, we're going to move on to this next video just to show you some examples of these strange orbs. Might as well throw the word orb out there. That's like that's the catch. That's the catchphrase for today. Today's word is orb. Drones are watching, it says, but you're not going to see anything that are even like drones. Okay, right next to me here. You see that? Oh, hold on. Steven, hey, welcome to my channel. Let me go ahead. I'm just going to move that little alert box real quick. Squeeze it. There we go. And we'll stick that down in the corner. That way it doesn't cover the thing. Welcome to my channel, Steven. All right, so check this out. These are orbs. All right, these are orbs, balls of light. Let's just be simple. All right, they're balls of light. They're orbs. They're spheres of light. All right, but they don't always have to stay in that shape. But that's their favorite shape to take. Check this out. And this guy says, now watch people comment that these are balloons or whatever. Now I'm gonna relate this to an alleged alien attack in Los Angeles. What a time to be alive, right? You see all these little dots right just above the clouds? I'm not inclined to say that those are drones. I know people immediately want to jump to technology and say that these are drones or whatnot, but they're not. I'll tell you right now, they're spirit. Okay, these are ghosts. All right, just to be quick about it. Okay, without all the long detailed science behind what it is. But these are essentially spirit form, all right? It's plasma. Here's another one. You can see this one up here in the sky. People have been recording these orbs at night and in the daytime. These things can shine during the daytime, too. They're extremely bright. But they're easier to see at night, and people are starting to see them all the time. Usually you can tell the difference between an orb and like a plane or something. Planes have blinky lights on them. They constantly blink with their lights and stuff. But an orb is just a solid ball of light, usually larger looking than a plane. These orbs usually look close up, or a lot closer. All right, that one's okay. I don't really like that video. Let's see what this one is. Oh, this one's from Mr. BB 3000. Is that his name? Hold on, let me double check. Mr. MBB 3000. That's what it is. I love that this guy shares so much stuff. He tends to think that they're metallic UFOs, which, you know, that's totally fine. But I love that he shares all this stuff. This is what I would like to have. I'd like to have you guys send all me your interesting videos and stuff and anomalies and stuff so we can all put those puzzle pieces together. But watch this. Check this out. I'm gonna play his video where he shares these orbs. Now, this is common. This is what they commonly look like. Oftentimes just white balls that are just hanging out up there in the atmosphere. You know, oftentimes the video is a little shaky or whatever, but people see, they look like close-up stars, basically. Here's another one. Sometimes you get all these different little lights up in the sky, and people are really quick to say, "Oh, that's you know, military practicing with chaff and flares and whatnot." I was in the Marines. I made chaff, or at least the housing unit for them. Oh, these flashing lights. I wanted to share this too real quick. So many people, especially over on his channel, he's having a lot of people send him instances where lights, like street lights, car lights, all kinds of lights, they're just flashing all by themselves, right? This one's in the whole fog, right? There's a lot more fog showing up lately. But the reason why these lights are flashing, my theory on this, my take, is that it has to do with the gases that are being released into our atmosphere and the increased pressure in this world that's contributing to higher electrical charge in the atmosphere. And when that happens, then that electrical charge or electromagnetics is going to flow through in different currents, and it's going to disrupt the lights wherever it goes. This is exactly the reason why in horror movies, they always have the lights flicker whenever, like, Jason Voorhees is right outside the cabin door, or there's a ghost nearby, or something of that nature, because it's electromagnetic. These are like Jason Voorhees is his spirit is amplified. Basically, that's why he can't die. But when you have like this amplified spirit or a strong electrical current or electromagnetic current, then if it passes by electronics, they're going to start blinking and stuff. That's why many of you have probably experienced walking underneath. Maybe you were walking home as a teenager or something, and you walked underneath a street light. All the street lights are turned on, but then you walk under one and it turns off right when you walk underneath it. And it's happened many times. If you're that type of person, this isn't just a story where it's like, oh yeah, that happened to me once. This is the type of thing that happens to you all the time. and it's because of your strong spirit or the electromagnetic current, right? So anyways, I didn't want to share too much of the lights flashing. Now, orbs in Los Angeles, okay? Many people might remember this article that came out a long time ago. This was commonly known as the attack on Los Angeles. This really happened, all right? They had all these machine guns, and the military had set up shop, you know, just after the bombing of Hiroshima and whatnot. So the gossip, right, was that the west coast of the United States was on high alert because, you know, everyone was afraid that the Japanese people might come and bomb the United States or something. So they set up all these machine guns and stuff off the coast, and one night in Los Angeles, this happens. This is the cover of the LA Times. 1942. Mystery air objects seen in the sky over LA. Searchlights and anti-aircraft guns comb the sky. They were shooting at this, at these dots. Okay, see all these little dots? Now, many people will look at this. Let's check this picture out. Many people will look at this and they're like, "Oh, that's clearly a UFO." Right? This is the bottom of the UFO. That's the part that sucks you up into the UFO or whatever. And like, as you can see, you can't actually see a craft of any kind, but what you do see are lights, right? You see orbs, little orbs of light all over the place, little balls of light, and all these searchlights were aiming in that one spot. Why? I'm going to tell you why. And if you read the eyewitness report, you'll see that the eyewitnesses corroborate. Their stories corroborate what I'm theorizing about right now. Many of them looked up and saw circular objects that were lit up above Los Angeles. So people were panicking, thinking that there was aircraft. I mean, what else could it possibly be, right? But in reality, it was, I believe, my theory is that there were orbs, okay? And I'll explain exactly what an orb is. I will tell you what the science behind an orb is. We'll take the mystery out of it. You can keep the mystery in it. I think mystery's fun. I think it's fun to be creative. And like I said, I called them ghosts earlier. That's fun. I like it. It's easy to remember. But we're going to talk about the science behind it as well, and how these orbs are created, just to bring some balance, you know, to the subject. All right, so this is the military in Los Angeles, in the same area where these fires are right now. They were shooting at orbs in the sky, not craft of any kind. They didn't hit anything, okay? There was nothing. And the eyewitnesses said that the tracer rounds were flying up there and they could see that the bullets were hitting whatever those lights were, but no object fell out of the sky. No damage was done or anything. It's because the bullets flew right through them, because they are orbs. They're light beings, or they're balls of light, balls of energy up there in the heavens. And people saw that. Now, these ones are way up high, okay? We're going to talk about different kinds of orbs that have been seen throughout antiquity that typically are a lot lower to the ground. It depends on what age you're in. It depends on what cycle we're in right now. So, for example, I'd like to share with you this picture right here. As you can see, it's a sort of drawing of these two walking through the forest. And lo and behold, there's this little swampy area. See a little reflection off of the water right there? There's a little swampy area. And within the swampy area, there's this bright, shining light. And you've got a couple of travelers that are taking in the view. In the background, you can see that this is the times where they had the castles, okay? So these huge, gigantic undertakings. That's a whole nother subject, okay? I've been watching a lot of My Lunch Break lately. I've given him a couple shout outs because I love the freaking subject matter. And I'm going to jump right on to the old world subject. I mean, I've discussed the old world a few times, but I'm probably going to do like a bunch of old world freaking, because of the architecture and all that stuff. It's so interesting. Anyway, let's focus on the lights, okay? Now, if you look at the very bottom, the captioning for this drawing, check this out. If I can get that low. It says at the bottom, an ignis fatuus, or will-o-the-wisp. The will-o-the-wisp. You may have heard of this before. Will-o-the-wisps, or will-o-wisps. Some people say it quickly. They'll say will-o-wisp or whatever, right? This says, as seen in Lincolnshire and taken upon the spot. So this is a recreated drawing of an actual news article of people that saw this will-o-wisp. Woundsocket, hey, thanks for hooking up the memberships in the chat. That's cool. All right. Ooh, man, hold on. Excuse me. So will-o-wisp. This object, this orb, this ball of light was known in the ancient of days as, or in the old world, as a will-o-wisp or a will-o-the-wisp. Let's talk about what that means, okay? Let's break that word down so that it's just not some name that has no meaning behind it. Will equates to spirit, okay? That's all that really means. It means spirit, okay? So spirit, O just means of, spirit of the wisp. What is a wisp? A wisp is basically kindling, right? What you use to set something on fire. So the spirit of the kindling is what this, loosely translates to. This was a fiery spirit. This was a fiery light that was ethereal and kind of wispy whenever it moved about, sort of dragging along its fire wherever it would go. That's why these were known as the spirits of the wisp or the will-o-wisp, okay? Now, we're going to get a little bit deeper into this, all right? Talking about the will-o-wisps. These were what orbs were called in the ancient times, right? This was the Battle of Los Angeles, as you can see here. I did just pull up the Wikipedia article and lots of good information about that, but I gave you the gist of it already. People thought they saw balloons. So lit up, rounded objects in the sky. They didn't see planes. They didn't see any kind of craft at all. And then the government would actually come in and say, yeah, it was weather balloons. I kid you not. Yeah, it was weather balloons, some swamp gas and some weather balloon action. So we just wasted about 10,000 rounds of ammunition that we could use to protect ourselves to fight ghosts, basically. All right, let's continue on past that one. Now, let's talk about these will-o-wisps. These are very interesting, okay? I'm going to adjust my screen so we can all read what is on the screen here. 1 second. There we go. Just scooch that on over. There we go again. For pow. Okay. Good enough. Good enough. Now, I don't know. I'm a perfectionist, so this is good enough. All right, so let me go ahead and read this. This is about the will-o-wisps. Now, here's a little picture of it off to the side. I have the picture right here. It's behind my head. But I'll show you what it looks like. It looks like this. Okay, you see that? I can't tell if you can see that or not. Oh, they're right behind me. All right, let's make it gigantic, and then you can see what they are. So sometimes they're drawn as little balls of light, and sometimes they look like streaks, like little spirit beings, right? And here they are again. See how wispy they are? Kind of like little brooms or something in the sky. All right, anyways, that's the picture that they got up on Wikipedia. All right, let's continue on. Let's check this out. In folklore, which is history, all right, the history of the folk. That's literally what that means. It means the stories of the people. All right, and I like the stories of the people more than I like the narratives of the government books. All right, so I'm more about the stories of the people. In folklore, a will-o'-the-wisp or will-o'-wisp is also called ignis fatuus, which is Latin for the foolish flame. So this word ignis is exactly where we get the word ignite, right? When something catches on fire, that's what ignis is, right? It also is related to, volcanic rock, which is fiery or whatnot. So ignis fatuus, Latin for foolish flame. These were also called ignis fatui. It's an atmospheric ghost light, according to Wikipedia, seen by travelers at night, especially over bogs, over swamps, and over marshes. Now, let's take a look at this. This tells us what it is in the name, ignis. That means it's fire. But in the old world, in the ancient times, the word fire stemmed from the word light. It was fire by implication and extension. It wasn't originally fire. The word originally meant and conveyed light, right? And since fire became a common form of light, then that became the common definition of the word, basically. But what we're looking at here is fiery lights in the sky. Lights that can cause wildfires, lights that oftentimes were trickster lights, said to set things on fire wherever they danced and wherever they moved about. This phenomenon is known in the United Kingdom by a variety of names, including the Jack of the Lantern, the Friar's Lantern, and the Hinky Punk. And it is said to mislead or guide travelers by resembling a flickering lamp or a lantern. This is where the jack-o'-lantern comes from. This is the origin of these things. With the old world had an atmosphere that was electrically amplified. All right, where you could just draw energy down from the ether itself and power your homes or power whatever you needed power to go to. But there was so much power. There was an overabundance of power in the atmosphere that it manifested in forms in what today would be called phenomenon, which is the word phenomenon is just a really, ritzy word for saying I don't know what that is. It's just phenomenon, all right? It's a strange event that is misunderstood or not understood at all. So these lights were seen by travelers, and sometimes travelers would follow these lights for a reason, for a good reason too, because they might find some treasure by following these lights. However, oftentimes they would follow them and then they would be led into some swamp or some bog or some dangerous area and then die, because the light would just disappear suddenly and they would have nothing to guide them any longer, and there would be no treasure, or there was explosions, or there was fires and stuff too, right? So sometimes they led people to treasure, sometimes they led people to their deaths. And if you look at some of these older maps, pay particular attention in swampy areas and desert areas. In the desert areas, especially during the medieval times, when they had these medieval maps, they would draw demons. Hold up, I gotta adjust. They would draw demons on these deserts, and they would say these demons, which are just light beings, these demons would lead people astray in the desert and get them lost. I'll explain to you exactly how this happens and why anybody in their rightful mind would follow some spirit, you know what I mean, out in the woods or in the swamps or bogs or whatever. Equivalents of the will-o-wisps appear in European folklore by various names. They're called ignis fatuus in Latin, folle in French, Irrlicht or Irrwicht in German, Hessdalen light in Norway. So they're actually called lights in Norway. The Hessdalen lights are unidentified lights which have been observed in a 12-kilometer long, 7.5 mile stretch of the Hessdalen Valley. And they're seen periodically since the 1930s. These lights follow patterns. These lights follow periods. They are cyclical in nature. Why is that exciting to me? Because it's another proof, and it's more evidence that everything that in this world, at the very least, is cyclical in nature. We're following currents. We are stuck in loops in life. I'm not super excited about being stuck in a loop. I'm excited to be aware that I am stuck in a loop so that I may break free of that loop, right? Or break free of the world. If that's your thing. Equivalents of the will-o-wisp appear all throughout the entire world. In some cultures across the world, they're known as the Naga fireballs. Check this out. The Naga fireballs. Now, the word Naga goes back to like another word that implies demons or spirits or, some sort of genies and jinns and stuff like that, smokeless fire. The Naga fireballs, also known as Bong Fei Faya Nak. Bong Fei Faya Nak. All right, Bong Fei Faya Nak, or Mekong lights. And formerly, they were known as ghost lights. I told you, they're ghosts, okay? This is what people see when they see ghosts. They see electromagnetic phenomenon. They are a phenomenon said to be seen annually on the Mekong River. Cycles, once again, currents, because they're following electrical currents. It might be a long cycle, so it's difficult to recognize it, just like comets, okay? Comets up in the heavens are electromagnetic. They have nothing to do with rocks and slushies and tasty freezes in space that are flying past the sun and lighting up for some reason and disintegrating and then reforming themselves or whatever. Okay, this is all electromagnetic. That's why comets can be timed. That's why they come back around in these loops and in these currents. They're following electromagnetic currents. Ghost lights are a phenomenon seen on the Mekong River. Glowing balls. Tartarian Truth, let me just listen for a quick sec, buddy. Feel free to go through every time I say balls and make a video. I've been waiting for that. I'm just kidding. I'm kind of kidding. Anyways, it's just another YouTube channel that makes me laugh. All right, back to being serious. Ghost lights. Ghost balls. Sorry, now I'm distracting myself. Glowing balls are alleged to naturally rise from the water high into the air. So check this out. This is another interesting thing about these orbs, is that they come up out of the water. You would think that fire and water wouldn't really mix usually, right? But if it's not fire, but it's a light, right? If we remove the fire connotation from it, we can start to understand how it can be born up out of lakes and oceans and things like that. People have seen this all the time, especially in freshwater lakes, especially large ones that produce lots of gases, like Lake Baikal over in Siberia, right? Which I'm going to bring up later on too. But yeah, these people see these gigantic orbs just emerging from lakes and huge bodies of water, the oceans. There have been commissioned Navy officers that have seen lights rise up out of the ocean and just freaked out, and were told to remain silent on the subject. All right, let's continue up. They're called Naga fireballs. They're also called the Paulding light in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. They call these Paulding lights. It's a light that appears in a valley outside of Paulding, Michigan. Now, lots of times these appear in valleys too. I'm going to tell you why. I'll tell you exactly what they are just right now. I don't mean to beat around the bush. These are gas that have been ionized. That means it's electricity. That means it's plasma, point blank. Plasma is more of a phenomenon than the other elements that are known, like fire and air and earth and water, right? It's more of a phenomenon. It's misunderstood because it's no longer taught. It's not taught in schools. It's not taught within academics. It's a mystery to many people. Now, I'll leave that question up to you. Why would they keep that out of the school system and not teach people plasma physics? Which could be very useful in dispelling many of these ancient myths and old wives' tales and really pulling the truth out of them instead of it just being some mystic, strange story or whatever. All right, continuing on. What else are they called? Spook lights. Sometimes they're called spook lights down in Missouri, in Oklahoma, in St. Louis. They're called the St. Louis Lights of Saskatchewan. In Arab folklore, they're known as the Abu Fanus. The will-o-the-wisps are typically attributed as ghosts, as fairies. Now, keep that one in mind because I'm going to talk about fairies too. I mean, fairy, if you think about it, the word fairy sounds very similar to the word fiery, doesn't it? Right? Jungle Rumbler just gave me a super chat. Thank you, Jungle Rumbler. All right, so they're related to fairies or elemental spirits meant to reveal a path or a direction. Oh, let me check the chat. Sometimes people donate to get my attention because something's wrong. Let me just double check. Oh, you're welcome. You're very welcome. Let me heart that little donation there. All right, everything looks to be good in the chat. Let's continue on with the presentation. I got to remember where we were. All right, we talked about the Battle of LA where the government was shooting at these orbs, or ball lightning is basically what this is. And I'm going to talk about ball lightning next. All right, so they're related to fairies, elemental spirits. These are meant to reveal a path or a direction. The wisps are portrayed as dancing or flowing in a static form until noticed or followed, in which case they visually fade away or disappear. I can testify to this. I see these all the time out back of my house. All right, I go outside at night and I'll see an orb, and I get my phone out. I'm trying to pull up the picture thing as fast as I can because I know the second I see this thing, it's going to disappear. How many people have had this happen? Okay, you saw an orb and you're trying to like go to record it or something, and it just fades out, it just disappears, right? That's because it's a light. Light can do that, okay? It doesn't have to have a Romulan cloaking device on it, or a Klingon cloaking device or whatever. It doesn't have to be have a propulsion system or doors on it or beings inside of it. It is a being. It is a spirit being. These wisps are portrayed as dancing or flowing. Now, what happens is, because it's a strong electrical current and a strong electrical charge that's self-contained as a plasmoid, they tend to flicker about. It depends on how strong they are. It depends on the electrical current. Depends on how much gas is contained within that toroidal field, okay, how they move. If they're bigger, oftentimes they kind of roll around, like Attack of the Killer Tomatoes style, okay? They'll just float about slowly, like the Blob or Slimer or something. But if they're smaller, oftentimes they sort of flicker about, sometimes even jumping from one place to another very quickly. And if they are in places that can combust, like swamps and graveyards and junkyards and stuff that have a whole bunch of decaying, rotting organic material that just release massive amounts of combustible gases up into the air above it, then yeah, they can set things on fire. All right, especially if those gases combust and there happens to be, dry bushes and debris and stuff laying around that, is wispy, right? Then that will catch on fire too. They visually fade or disappear. Modern science explains the light aspect as natural phenomenon such as bioluminescence. I don't believe this is bioluminescence, okay? Bioluminescence usually has to do with actual physical life forms. All right, right now we're talking about ether. We're talking about auroras. We're talking about plasmas and electricity. All right, not, fish that light up or whatever. Now let's continue on. I'm going to skip the etymology because I think we get the point of the word. We kind of discussed the origin of the ignis and the fire portion of it. These are fires, and they do start fires, okay? And these are what I believe are starting these wildfires across the world. Not people throwing cigarettes out of the window of a moving car. Not people forgetting to put out their campfire. Do those sometimes start fires? Yes, sometimes they do, okay? But there comes a point when we have to step back and say, okay, it's no longer coincidence. There can't be that many people flicking their cigarettes into the forest, and then that unlit or that lit cigarette happens to catch all this, entire forest on fire, all right? It's very difficult to even achieve that, actually. Let's see. Oftentimes these are like called devil lights. So there's a lot of stories about people that make deals with the devil, or a person that made a deal with the devil, and these lights are personified as having once been people, once again revealing their spirit forms, being trapped within vessels. Sometimes people would trap these things. So these spirits, hold on, let me get to a picture. I don't like it when there's too many words on the screen for too long. Hold on, let me pull a picture up. There we go. So check this out. This is beautiful. This is from Magic the Gathering. Actually, it's a card, will-o-the-wisp. I don't like that picture either. I like this one, though. All right, cool. So check this out. Man, I distracted myself now. What was I talking about? The will-o-the-wisps. Oh, how they start these wildfires, right? So they'll flicker about, they'll bounce around or whatever. Gases develop in these areas. These wildfires are always going to be close to deep underground cavernous systems. Areas where gases can be released from the earth in mass, or in conjunction with that, large bodies of water that naturally create their own gases, like lakes, right? That dispel all kinds of gases all the time. And those gases can build up. Now, oftentimes you'll see these in valleys because the gases act as a fluid, right? And if you have fluid and it's rolling over a valley, it's going to do just what water would do or anything else. It's just going to go down into the bottom of that valley, and it's going to build up more and more gas, more and more electrical charge, and you'll see more and more of these orbs floating around in bogs, in swamps, along streams. You will hear them too, all right? So these orbs are not just quiet. They might be far enough away that you can't hear them. These orbs can do everything that lightning can do. They can make loud explosions. They do make loud explosions. They can make singing noises. All right. Now, the smaller these orbs are, the higher pitch the sound that comes off of them or their voice will be. The larger they are, the deeper and the slower and the more resonant it'll be. And it'll sound more human whenever it's larger, as opposed to being a small little crackle from electricity. But they make sounds. They're heard singing or sometimes crying. Oftentimes they're seen as the spirit of some person, disembodied person that, has some backstory, and they're drowned in a river or drowned by a stream or lost a loved one by a stream. So these are the crying spirits as well. These are also known as banshees, and they don't have to be orbs. These don't have to be balls of light. All right. These can be stretched out. Man, I can't get a good picture in there. That's too bad. Man, they don't have. This will work. Anyways, they don't have to be just balls, okay? They can move and stretch. These are plasmoids. Plasma is directly related to the word plastic, okay, which means moldable and shapeable. And they can create their own shapes, all right? They can mimic shapes too. It's easiest to just be a ball, but if the electrical field, the electromagnetic field changes around them, or the current changes around them, they can become stretched out. They can become elongated. They can become cigar shaped or disc shaped or many other different shapes too. All right, let me get back to some of the words again. All right, let's see. Let's go back and forth here. Global folklore about these will-o'-the-wisps. Mexico has their equivalent. Sometimes they were basically regarded as witches, right? And I'm sure the word witch is directly related to the word light. If I look that up, that's just a guess, but I'm pretty sure it probably is. So these people would follow them, and they would be led to gold or hidden treasures. What's the reason behind that? The reason is because gold is a conductor, right? Many different types of precious metals or whatnot are conductors. So oftentimes, these things will be seen as guarding these conductive materials, just like dragons. Okay, like I said, they can stretch themselves out and they became fireworms, or they became dragons, or they became whatever. And they would be found around precious metals because they're conductive. And you have all this electrical buildup near these conductors, right? So sometimes people would follow them and they would find a treasure. But other times people would follow them thinking that they were a different kind of light, a marker, and a sign. I'll show you that sign here in a minute. Let's see. So I'm just glancing over the rest of this. There's many different words. Check this one out. This is interesting. So this one's boitata. Boitata is the Brazilian equivalent of the will-o'-wisp. Regionally, it's called the boitata, the betata, the batata, the bitata, the batato. All kinds of this stuff. The name comes from the old Tupi language, and it means fiery serpent. Just like seraphim, right? Just like so many dragons and fireworms and skyworms and wonderful serpents and whatnot. It's a great fiery serpent that has eyes. Its great fiery eyes leave it almost blind by day, but by night it can see everything. According to legend, Boitata was a big serpent which survived a great deluge. So this comes after the great deluge, or a reset, or a cataclysm, or an apocalyptic cycle. Why? Because this is when the world is being flooded with gas. It happens because the atmosphere depressurizes. And when our atmosphere depressurizes, so does the inner earth. And when the inner earth depressurizes, it increases buoyancy. And all that inner earth water rises up to the surface. All that inner earth gas rises up to the surface. And you have an abundance of gas all of a sudden introduced. And when that gas becomes ionized, you see it. It becomes ghosts, it becomes spirits, it becomes fiery serpents and orbs and ball lightning and many other things too. They're also the ancient bees, holy bees of old, and they would sting you. There was actually one called Stinging Jack or something like that. I can't remember the name of it. Anyways, here's another depiction of one. I don't know if you can see that one. No, you can't see that one. Let me make it smaller. Yeah, you still can't see that. Hold on. Can you see this? Right behind me there. Maybe if I do it one more time. I should have been better prepared. I can't see it. I got too much stuff pulled up on my screen. All right. Well, regardless, maybe I could do it now. Nope, you can't see it. All right. Anyways, it's basically a picture of what looks like a ghost that is on fire. All right. Sometimes these are called foxfires. Many different names for these. I don't really want to beat a dead horse because I'm getting bored with talking about all the reading here. I just kind of want to go off the top. So feel free to look over this article on Wikipedia. They're very interesting things to study. They're even, looks like they're related to cupids, as the cupid held the torch, or the wisp. And there's many other things. In Oceania, in Australia, they're known as the Min lights, reportedly seen in parts of the outback after dark. These are seen around the world. All right. I'm going to skip to more interesting things. I don't want to read articles right now. This one's interesting too. This is also an article, but it's called Hitodama. And this is in Japanese folklore. The Hitodama, meaning human soul, are balls of fire that mainly float in the middle of the night. They're said to be souls of the dead that have separated from their bodies, which is why where their name comes from, right? These are the Hitodama. And these are human souls as balls, right? These are the Dragon Ball Z, or the last of the Dragon Balls, basically. The same thing as JayDreamerZ, right? Last of the dreamers. And this is why you have dragons that have balls in their mouth. Oh, snap. Anyways, in the old world, they had statues of dragons that had what they call Dragon Balls in their mouth, which is these orbs, all right? These electrical orbs. Sometimes they would hold on to them. Sometimes it wasn't the dragons. Sometimes it was otherworldly phantazoids or monsters or creatures, but they had these balls of power, right? Screwed myself on that one. Anyways, they had these balls of power. And they were electrical, right? So this is why oftentimes the original dragons didn't have arms and legs. They didn't have feet. They were worms that had a ball in the front. So they were seen as a worm holding or carrying a ball in its face or in its mouth and just squiggling about, moving about, right? And the ancient people understood that this gave life to things. It made things come alive. And it was seen as an ethereal version of the seed of man, right? Actually, in ancient Phoenician, the letter in, which means life, nun, is drawn in that exact same fashion. It's a squiggly line with a round circle at the head of it, right? These were the Dragon Balls, Dragon Ball Z, or whatnot. I thought that was pretty interesting too. All right, now, they're also sometimes known as the Hobs or the Hobgoblins, right? Hob fairies. That word hob, I looked up the word hob as in hobgoblin. It is another way of saying Robert. It's a nickname for Robert. Now, the name Robert, if you look that up, comes from two words, hrod in the High German, and that means famous, or bright fame, bright with glory. Glory means glowing. So already we've got, an association with light. Hrod meant fame or glorious or glowing, and famous by extension, right? So something you won't quite forget. And then Bert, which means bright. So basically, Robert means famous light or infamous light, depending on your perspective. These were well-known lights, famous lights, lights that wouldn't be forgotten, lights that if you talked about and said, yeah, I saw this glowing orb, and someone else is probably going to say, oh, you saw one of those too? Because they were well-known. They were well-established at the time. It's also where we get the root for the word city, like Berg, as in Hamburg or St. Charlesburg or whatever, right? That word Berg is Bereg, and it means to shine brightly. It's directly related to the name Bert, as in Bert and Ernie, right? Anyways, that's interesting too. These are the will-o'-the-wisps. Like I said, sometimes they're wispy. Sometimes they look like little comets in midair. All right, there's little tiny comets that zig around and move about, and people thought these were fairies. They thought that these were little fairy folk. Now, don't get me wrong. There's different levels to that word. All right, I believe that there are what I call the race that's known as the El, right? The ancient leaders. Okay, aliens, the elven race, the Elu. There's actual physical humanoid beings that do have long pointy ears and stuff that are the Fae or the Fairy or the Azir or the, you know what I mean? They're different words for alien, basically. or angels or whatever, right? But these are different. Sometimes they took one connotation and they projected it onto another topic or another subject. So these were known as fairies too. But these were spirit fairies. These were totally different. They were electrical in nature. And people knew that the fairies were not to be messed with. They were not to be taken lightly. They also knew that if you captured one of these orbs in a jar and you caught lightning in a jar, which is basically what this is and where this comes from, and that's also where the jack-o'-lantern comes from and the turnip and all that stuff, that it could impart power unto you, especially in the form of telepathic, telekinetic powers and stuff, right? That people would essentially absorb the energy of these things and it would make them stronger. They would essentially be amplifying their own spirit by adding spirit to it or to themselves. And people would catch these. This is exactly what, if you saw that movie BFG, this is his occupation. This is what he does. He goes around catching these things. And sometimes they're known as, things that cause dreams. Right? That's what it was in BFG. They cause dreams because if you touch one, you'll get electrocuted and pass out. And then you'll have a nice dream. Okay? Anyways, let's continue on. These are plasmoids. All right? This is the technical name. All right? I like calling them more fun descriptors, but plasmoid works. It's plasma, and it is a plasmoid. What is a plasmoid? A plasmoid is a coherent structure of plasma. That means a strong electrical current, an electromagnetic current, electricity that can set things on fire, including forests and brush and all kinds of things all around the world. A plasmoid is a coherent structure of plasma and magnetic fields. The magnetic fields are what help it to be self-contained. It creates its own magnetic fields and it's repelled by its own magnetic field. The plasma portion of it is, at least. So it creates its own spirit body, you could say. Plasmoids have been proposed to explain natural phenomena such as ball lightning. That's because that's exactly what ball lightning is. Magnetic bubbles in the magnetosphere. I myself have seen a magnetic bubble, something that is an orb, not quite ionized, not quite charged and lit up as, something that I can see as a light. Before it becomes a light, it's gas, right? But that gas starts to form that ball shape before it just instantly turns into one, okay? The spirit comes first. The invisible lays the foundation for the physical, okay? So before, these orbs are actually orbs of light. They're orbs of gas. And if you see one, if you happen to catch one, they're very difficult to catch because they're basically invisible. They're not completely invisible, being gaseous, but they're transparent. So they will distort the background of anything that they are in front of. So if you're able to look right through one, you'll see the background being distorted and you can sort of make out this ball shape. I have seen that. I've been a witness to that. And man, is it an otherworldly experience. So they create magnetic bubbles in the magnetosphere and objects in cometary tails, blah, 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 solar wind, blah, blah, blah. All right. Plasmoids. The plasma is emitted not as an amorphous blob, but in the form of a torus. Okay? I'm reading this quote here from Winston Bostick. In the form of a torus. I don't know if you guys could see that. There it is. Form of a torus, right? This is what a torus is, a donut. Basically, that's all you got to remember. A torus, a toroidal field is a donut shape, okay? We shall take the liberty of calling this toroidal structure a plasmoid, a word which means plasma magnetic entity. The word plasmoid will be employed as a generic term for all plasma magnetic entities, and that was said by Winston H. Bostock, someone that looked into plasma physics. Plasmoid characteristics. Bostick researched the basic traits and the many details of plasmoids, and he says plasmoids appear to be plasma cylinders, elongated in the direction of the magnetic field. Plasmoids possess a measurable magnetic moment, a measurable translational speed, a transverse electric field, a measurable size. Oh snap, my TV just changed. Hold up. One moment. My bad. Alrighty. Squip it. Lovely technology. Can you Can you go back, please, TV? Thank you very much. It irritates the heck out of me. All right, anyways. Oh, is that fixed now? Yes, it is. All right, cool. All right, plasma. Plasmoids can interact with one another. They often do, seemingly by reflecting off of one another. Their orbits can also be made to curve towards one another. Plasmoids can be made to spiral to a stop if projected onto a gas at different pressures. Plasmoids can also be made to smash each other into fragments. There is some scant evidence to support the hypothesis that they undergo fission and possess spin. Let me show you an example. I created an AI image of a plasmoid, all right, of what I consider to be this ball lightning. Let me get myself out of the way here, actually. There we go. Boom. All right, so this is an AI generated video that I created of, you know, what I think it would look like for people to see something like this. I tried to make it a toroidal shape. So in the center there is sort of a mass of energy, all the lights meeting together, but you can see it creates this sort of donut shape, right? I've got another one here too. I like this one a little bit better. I've tried to just recreate what this looks like on a large scale so that we can actually see the shape of these orbs. They're not orbs. They're not true, actual spherical balls, okay? What they are is they're toroidal fields. They're these sort of donut shapes, all right? Just like Cheerios, you know what I mean? Same exact type of shape, right? That. So they go around and they keep going around like this, okay? But they do that 360 degrees all the way around. And they can elongate, okay? They can change shape or whatever, but to, you know, if you can't see their actual current, it will just look like a ball, all right? Now, here's another example. People have seen these coming up out of volcanoes and descending down into volcanoes, where you can see this example right here. They've got these lights, and there's a volcano over here in the background. Oh, I messed that up. Sorry, my bad. Let me get this pulled back up here. All right, go ahead and play. Is the video going to play, or is it? If I scroll, it changes the video. That's lovely. I don't. Oh, here we go. Here we go. This is the correct one. All right, sweet. So as you can see, right? I get so frustrated with my equipment. As you can see, it's not a UFO that's going to go land inside of the lava, inside of the active volcano. There are people that believe, and that's fine. It's understandable. Okay. I mean, if you don't know about plasma, you don't know about electricity and these currents and stuff like that, what else could it be, right? Except for insects, you know, bioluminescent insects or something. But it's definitely not a UFO. I very much doubt it's a UFO that's going to land inside of an active volcano on lava, right? But what it can do is it can follow the electrical current that is coming up out of this volcano, because all volcanoes are actually plasma volcanoes. Every single one of them, okay? Not today. Not usually, okay? Every once in a while you can find instances, real good ones, of electricity spewing out of the top of a volcano. That's what they're inclined to do. That's what they want to do, because they're full of this gas and pressure, and it's a perfect place for electricity to exist. One of these days, all that magma and lava will be blown out of every single volcano on Earth as it all gets sucked up into the mouth of Kronos and reforms into different boulders and rocks and stuff and rains back down on the Earth. Or escapes. But anyways, my point here is this is one of those orbs. People see these all of the time, okay? And this one just goes right down into the volcano, returning home. Next up, here we go. Let's see if I can make this one bigger. Now, this is also inside of an active volcano, according to the description in the video, at least. Now, let me adjust my settings over here, see if I can get this to where we can all happily enjoy watching it. That's probably as good as... Oh, that works. That works. Ah, hold on. I like this one. There we go. Boom. Is that good? Yes, that's good. All right. So clearly you can see it. I need to get better at doing the screen sharing bit. But this is a real video. All right. And there's the guy is speaking another language. I'm very much convinced. I know there's lots of fakes and forgeries. I don't care about the fakes and forgeries. They still reaffirm the omen and the root of the reality, okay? I'm not a fan of the internet being so diluted with fakes and forgeries and in AI videos. Like, I just showed you an AI video, but I made it very clear and I was very honest with you and said, I made this, it's AI, it's not real, right? This is real. It strikes me as being very real. I'm very convinced by this video, especially when I hear the audio and stuff. So I don't care about, well, anything can be faked. That is a mindset that will not lead us down a road that takes us to any answers. Okay, if we just lose ourselves down that rabbit hole that it's all fake and nothing's real, then it's no fun anymore. And I quit. I'm not playing anymore. All right, so I got to be grounded and say that some of these examples are definitely real. I actually have a compilation video on my Plasma Apocalypse playlist, a little, towards the middle, of all these examples of different forms of ball lightning. Now, you'll see this in the movies too. So, for example, this is from Brave. I'm in the way of every one of these pictures. This is insane. How do I make I need to, boom. All right, so this is from the movie Brave, right? She actually says these are will-o-the-wisps, and what she's doing in the movie is she's following the will-o-wisp, right? This is exactly what the legends say, so the movie is true to form, right, or true to historic records. They would follow these will-o-wisps. Why would they follow them? Because these occur every other cycle. Right now we live during a time, hold on, I got to catch my breath here. I'm getting way too excited and I'm skipping stuff. So I just need to focus. Okay. We live during a time when there is a lack of energy. And by energy, I mean all the things I have shown you so far. Spirit. There is a lack of life-giving spirit in the world on the surface where we live right now. We are drained. We have no will left. We have barely enough to just go about in these loops that we're stuck in that we can't recognize and go work our butts off all day long in most cases, just to come home exhausted and hope to get some sleep, but realize we have to do chores, clean house, attend to other matters, run errands and stuff, and our entire days are taken up. It's not just because we're busy that we're tired. If we had the spirit, this wouldn't be a problem. If we had the energy, it wouldn't be a problem. Where does energy come from? It comes from spirit. Spirit is what gives people energy, okay? So people that have high energy oftentimes have high spirit, okay? Sometimes this is good. Sometimes the people can't handle it and they go crazy, okay? Or at least oftentimes they will appear to have gone crazy to others, right? Sometimes even to themselves, they will actually go crazy. But let me get back to my point. Super chat. Oh, thank you. That was very kind. I appreciate it. We ain't having it. Thank you so much. We ain't having it for the golden jellies. Now, let me get back to this picture here. The people would follow the will-o-the-wisps. Why? Because they were acting as guides. Like I said, sometimes they would lead you to conductors, which is gold, silver, treasures, right? But other times, they would look like this when they were far away. These are light pillars. God, I can't get these ones in there either. There we go. That's fine. All right. These are light pillars. Pillars of light that appear to be jetting up out of the earth. Now, these ones in particular are not actually jetting up out of the earth. This is an atmospheric phenomenon to many. The lights are on the ground, but because of the water that's in the air, which oftentimes is crystalline in nature, the light refracts off of that water and it creates these columns of light, these pillars of light. These are what people saw during the ancient times. So immediately after the world was last inundated with water and the oceans were introduced and all those gases were trapped in this world, right? People saw way many more spirits and titanic human-like forms and stuff. These will oftentimes split off at the top, creating like a Y shape, right? If under the right conditions, okay? But my point is, the atmosphere is foggy after each apocalyptic cycle every time. Doesn't matter if it's the cycle by fire or the cycle by water. All of the atmosphere will be vaporous. It will all be misty everywhere, the world across. Some people describe it as a smoke that envelops the world. Some people describe it as a fog or whatever, right? The fog returns every single cycle, okay? When you have these terrestrial beams of energy that shoot out of these cavernous systems, they stimulate your body. They stimulate, they energize your soul, like I was talking about. They allow your synapses to function at full capacity and your neurons to function at full capacity so that you're using damn near close to 100% of your brain. You're awake, you're happy, you're full of energy. Okay? It's the golden age. And people would look for these everywhere. Now, the biggest one is the light of the world at the North Pole. That is the biggest, tallest place of power, or pop, okay? And there's many places of power that shoot up these exact same types of lights. And what it is gases depressurizing from the inner earth, rushing up, being squeezed into these cavernous systems and cracks and stuff. They ionize, and then they burst forth, actually shooting up out of the ground, just like that, right? And because of the fog, it amplifies these columns. It amplifies these pillars and these beams, and people see them, and they know they need to get to that light. They need to follow that light. That light is the destination. That light is where there's a city, because the original cities were built around these, okay? They would build a structure on top of there weren't usually a whole bunch of them all together like this, okay? There's very random in the world to come, okay? So when you saw one, you went to it, basically, okay? And if you knew where the right one was, you could end up in the Garden of Eden. You could end up at the Axis Mundi, at the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, or the tree of life, or whatever, right? The world tree, right? So anyways, people would flock to these lights, and they would settle there because they found that living in proximity to these lights would imbue them with health benefits. It would rid them of sicknesses. The waters nearby would bubble up and appear to be stirred by angels, and they became healing pools and healing baths and ponds and stuff because of these healing plasmas and gases and electricity that's coming up out of it. So anyways, people would settle down around these places, okay? The pole. It's a pole of light, an actual pole of light that shoots up out of the ground. They would meet at the pole. They would settle at the pole. They would build cathedrals and houses and structures that were designed to harness the energy of this light that's coming up out of the ground, to repurpose it or to hone its power for the family leaders so that they could live the longest, basically, okay? Anyways, I don't want to get too off track. My point is, if there's one of these little will-o-wisps, if it's bright enough, under the right conditions, it can create its own little pillar. And when people see that, they'll head towards it, especially if they're lost, like the wandering, lost nomadic tribes, trying to find their way back to the sign, which is the light of the lights, the light of all lights, which is at the center of the world. That's where they're trying to get back to. But when you see these little wisps, okay, people might see that off in a forest somewhere, or a bog, or a swamp, and they're like, there it is, it's back up, because these things can actually, they can retract, okay? I would say that these, even the ones that shoot up out of the ground, those gases, okay, they can fluctuate and they can come back down and stuff. So sometimes they would be there, sometimes they would not be there. But anyways, my point is, those will-o-wisps would trick people because people thought that they were headed towards the North Pole. They thought they were on their way. They found the way back to the Garden of Eden, and so they would go towards that bar. They would all go to the bar and meet up at the bar, basically, okay? Which is why the bar is called that, right? The drinking bar with the spirits. You drink spirits and all that. It's all related to the old world. Anyway, so the will-o-wisp would trick people. So they would get into these swamps and stuff. The will-o-wisp would disappear. The people would be stranded, and so on and so forth. Here's another example of what these light pillars look like. God, I did a horrible job of prepping these pictures. It's like everything is on my side. Anyways, here's an example, right? So you can imagine if these are will-o-wisps, right? Under the right conditions, people would follow this pillar. They would go after it, thinking that they were on the right track. But those will-o-wisps would trick them. Here's another example of what it looks like. Very beautiful pillars and columns that stem from street lights and other things too. You can see they retain their colors too, right? Shooting all the way up into the sky. These are the pillars of creation. These are the columns of the earth that hold up the sky. These are the Atlas Titans. All right, and one day people will see these the world across. Now, let's get back to ball lightning. God, man, I can't see. Hold on. Like, I can't see what you guys can see. That's why I'm frustrated. All right, I fixed it. All right, man, this is terrible. Just terrible. hold on, let me get over here. So this is an older drawing of somebody basically being attacked by ball lightning. As you can see, fopow, he got knocked out. This little ball lightning went right into his house, broke his little gizmo right here, and went right to his face, okay? Now, these ball lightnings, these orbs, these things, I don't want to leave it on this picture. Hold on. This is better. Ooh, I like this one. Okay, cool. So you may have seen this one. So there's many different articles. This is written in French down at the bottom. It says, Le globe de feu dans la salle, which means this orb of light went into the house, basically, okay? In the old world, 100 years ago or so, all right, this was much more common. People saw these. They wrote articles. This made it into the newspaper all the time, that these orbs would go into people's houses. These were ghosts. These were, to some, quote-unquote, little gods and stuff like that, right? So this is where food and drink offerings come into play. People would take food and leave it out front so that it would rot, and those gases would go up off of the food, and the orbs would actually hang out outside instead of trying to come into the house. Because if you live in a house and there's cracks or anything, inevitably you're going to have gases build up within the house itself, and those gases will seep out of cracks in windows or under the doors or whatever. And these plasma balls eat gas, okay? If it's a ghost, that's what it eats, is gas, basically, okay? That's why they'll eat the food and drink offering, because the food will eventually decompose and people will see that it's going away, and then they'll associate that with these glowing orbs that hover over it every night, and they'll think that the ghosts are actually eating physical food, when in reality they sort of are, right? They're just eating the gas that's being from the decomposing food or whatever. Anyways, my point is that you have these many historic accounts of glowing orbs and balls that flew into people's houses. So they had to protect themselves. They had to put up, for example, magnets on their front door, because plasma is repelled by a magnetic force. So if you have a strong type of magnet, like a horseshoe magnet, and you put that on your front door, the plasma, which normally would come by and make a knocking sound, which is just a popping, an electrical popping. Those were the Tommy knockers, basically. They would bypass your house because you'd have that strong magnetic good luck charm affixed to your door. Over time, people forgot this because the energy ran out. We ran out of energy. Okay, like I said, we're on empty right now. So we don't experience this as much in the world that we live in. We project our current paradigm and our current social and terrestrial and atmospheric norms onto the past. And we say, if it's like this for us today, it must have been like that for them back then, when that it couldn't be further from the truth. Okay? The atmosphere and the world, the land, was altogether different to allow ghosts and ectoplasm and orbs and balls and stuff, right? These things were dangerous. They were also useful if you could catch one. Okay? They had many different uses. You could catch these things too. But anyways, they were dangerous. So people would protect their houses. They would deck the halls with boughs of holly, because holly is a spiky plant. And the spikes on that plant, put out protons, which dispel the electrical negative buildup. Anyways, this is all stuff that they did to keep ghosts out. This is why people put a circle of salt, right? So that the ghost can't get in. So I'll just tell you this. Like, if it's a circle of salt, it's better if it's wet, because it creates an electrolyte, which creates a circuit, okay? So the ghost would get trapped in that circle. It wouldn't be so much repelled by the circle, it would actually get trapped in the circle. This is also what I believe the very first dream catchers were for. They caught those entities that made the dreams, which are will-o-wisps, which are orbs and fairies and stuff. All right, let's continue on. Now, here's another example. I just want to share some of these. I'm going to just disappear. Forget this. Why am I in the way? All right, so here's another example. All right, many people drew these, and because people had stories of meeting. You can see there's lightning in the background, obviously, right? And you'll see these orbs oftentimes in connection. You can find lots of videos online of people who have seen these orbs. And oftentimes, you'll see a lightning strike, and then an orb will float across the sky. Some people see them dropping down out of these storm systems, just like you see depicted here, right? Sometimes they're red, fiery red. Sometimes they're pink. Sometimes they're blue. They were personified as beings. This is a globe of fire descending into a room. This probably came down the chimney. All right. See how there's a chimney back there? That's because this is Santa. All right. You do not want Santa to visit you on Christmas because he can petrify you. These things are electrical. And if they're ionized hydrogen, like I believe many of them will be during the apocalypse, they will turn you into coal, or they'll petrify you. They'll rearrange the bonds in your body and make you rock, right? And that is achievable because there was a man who was known for actually petrifying human bodies and body parts. But anyways, these balls of light were personified. They were seen as fairies, witches, wizards, whatever the case may be, right? But this, like, here's one of the most classic examples of an orb personified as a human, right? It's not a human. It's not advanced futuristic technology. This is not just a movie. This is truth. There's no such thing as just a movie. There's no such thing as just a story. There's no such thing as just anything. Everything is made of truth. When you really get down to the specifics of it, that's my belief, all right? Everything is made of truth, and therefore everything contains elements of truth to it. Anything else is just an error on our part, an error in perception or understanding. But these balls of light were personified as people, as witches and fairies. Remember that scene, the classic scene from The Labyrinth, where she thought fairies, she comes from our world, okay? So this girl, Sarah, she transitions from one, she's basically an apocalyptic survivor, okay? I'm just going to give you the direct version of this movie, all right? The way I see it. Sarah represents an apocalypse survivor, somebody who survives an apocalyptic event. She is now thrust into this fantasy world, which is the world of yesteryear, the world of the Dark Ages and the world of ancient Greece and whatnot, where they had these other apocalyptic cycles where there would be, the atmosphere would be electrically amplified, where they had fairies. This right here, she sees a fairy in the movie. Okay, she goes into the red sky. She goes into that post-apocalyptic, dusky, orange-colored sky, right, which is what's on the way. And she sees fairies. It's one of the first things she meets. She has a preconception. She has a preconceived idea of what a fairy should be. That, I mean, first and foremost, that is her preconceived idea. They're showing you your very own preconceived ideas because fairies are not little humanoids with wings. Okay, and she grabs one, and it bites her. And she goes, oh my God. And there's this character named Hoggle, and he said, what'd you expect fairies to do? And she's like, I thought they did nice thing, like grant wishes. Now, she's half right. They do. Like I said, they can impart boons. They can give you power and revelations and allow you to see visions and, you know, amplify your telepathic powers and stuff. They can. But if you just go and grab one with your bare hands, you're going to get bit. You're going to get zapped because you're touching electricity. Okay? That's why Tinkerbell is light. She is light. She's light personified into a little flying human person with a sexy dress for some reason. Okay? She's light. That's what she is. She is there is not a fairy that is a person that has insect wings and is tiny and just bioluminescent and all that. This is cartoonification. Okay? The reality is they took Tinkerbell's ass and stuck her into a lantern because that's where she belongs. She is a will-o-wisp. She is plasma. That's what she is. Okay. This takes us to the Tunguska event. All right, the Tunguska event. God, I got my pictures all messed up over here. Jesus, that's messed up. Hold on one second. I gotta fix this. I just gotta fix this real quick. This is bothering me too much. Okay. There we go. Doesn't that just feel better to have everything in the right spot? All right, the Tunguska event. All right, you may have heard of the Tunguska event out in the Siberian forest over 100 years ago now. There was seen by eyewitnesses ball lightning, orbs, gigantic in size. I'm not talking about the little ones that spark out of the little LA fires and stuff. I'm talking about massive, house-sized, gigantic, huge balls of fire that slowly move across the sky and leave a little cometary flaming trail behind it, right? This was seen by eyewitnesses back in like the 1800s, I believe, and people saw this huge fiery orb light up the sky in the middle of the night. It became so bright, people woke up thinking it was time to go to work in the middle of the night. People went out on they couldn't sleep, so they went out and read a book by the light of this orb that traveled across ancient Siberia, basically, right? Now, this academics will tell you, oh, this was a comet that entered into our atmosphere and it reached terminal velocity and it exploded in midair and blew down these trees or whatever. I'm telling you right now, it was an abundance of gas that was built up that ionized, and it traveled across Siberia until it reached a bigger pocket of gas that was combustible, and then boom, it exploded. Okay, you had all that gas up there just above the trees that exploded, creating extremely strong winds and fires that set the forest ablaze. Okay, this is one of the original forest fires that was unknown, that people didn't know how it started. Okay, not many people even lived back there during that time. Okay, not only that, but forests are naturally equipped to put themselves out. I'm going to tell you that right now. Nature knows how to put out fires. Okay, so that's more of a human thing, trying to stop wildfires and all that stuff, especially rich people in Beverly Hills. Okay. Fires are, I don't know. I throw some water on it. I don't want to minimize the fires. All right. Let me focus on this. The Tunguska event was an ancient example of how ionized gases can combust. They can travel over large distances following the electromagnetic currents that naturally are present in the atmosphere. And if they meet the right conditions, they can explode. All right. These are where you get earthquake lights from, right? How do you think earthquake lights are? Those lights that are seen preceding earthquakes or sometimes afterwards. What happens is, the reason the earth is shaking is because it's releasing massive amounts of gas in that particular region or nearby, which opens up and causes, cave-ins and stuff like that. And then some of the earth will shift down and move about. Meanwhile, all those gases flood the area above where the earthquake is centered. Nobody really sees them. Nobody has any gas detectors or anything like that. So they're unaware of it until those gases ionize. Then they see these little flashes of little mini auroras, and then they feel the earthquake. And then they realize what it was. Right? The ancients knew when you saw those lights to hold on, because they knew where it came from, which is the gases within the earth. This is just another example of how there was this huge fireball in Tunguska, right? Or orb, right? That moved about slowly. There's so many different eyewitness accounts. It was seen as this thing was moving slow. There was no comet. There was no meteorite. Okay. That would have been way faster and something that happened way quicker. I've read over many of the eyewitness accounts from Tunguska, and all of them say that this fireball moved like in slow motion. It moved about. I mean, it was high up in the sky, and it was moving about. You know what I mean? But it wasn't by any means like some sort of quick meteorite or anything like that, shooting star or anything. This thing moved in slow motion as it moved about. Now, we're almost finished up here. What do we got next? A video. So I want to show you a modern video of a fireball. If I can get the video to work. Boom. So there it is right there. You see that? Now imagine this is Tunguska, except for the gas was much more immense. All right. Lots more gas. So this would have lasted a lot longer. People would have seen it going past or whatever. Now the type of color that it lights up. These orbs will light up different colors dependent upon different factors. Okay, one of those factors is the type of gas that's being ionized. That's just one factor. Okay, and in the daytime, oftentimes they, unless it's extremely strong, it might not even have color. It just might be white. So oftentimes people are starting to see white balls in the skies, and capturing it on video. But you can see all these different examples of these fireballs. These are not meteorites. These are not rocks flying 40,000 to 100,000 miles an hour through the atmosphere or any such thing. These are fireballs. These are plasmas. Where is the stuff I had pulled up? One second. What is this? This is not even the article that I had pulled up. This is an unrelated article. What is this garbage? Well, I did have some videos, but it's on this chick from NASA. Why? I don't want that. No, no, no. Go back. Hold on, time out. I don't know what happened. The computer does whatever it wants to sometimes. So, maybe it's on this one. Let's find out. It's not on that one. Well, that's too bad, because I had this whole thing. This happens. I'm not. That's okay. That's fine. I don't know what happened. That was going to be my grand finale. Was showing all these cool videos of fireballs coming down out of the sky, but I'm sure that you guys have seen it before. And maybe if I reload it. No, who is this? This is not anything I would even care about reading. Janet Petro appointed as acting NASA administrator? What kind of dumb, stupid, nasty garbage is that? Anyways, now it's just frustrating because I had a bunch of cool videos I wanted to share with you and show you. So that's fine. Let me take this screen sharing off real quick. Sad. That's too bad. All right, no problem though. Now, you've all probably seen many videos of, let's use our imaginations, okay? You've seen videos of fireballs, right? Streaking through the sky. These videos I was going to show you show these quote-unquote fireballs like starting off really quick, but then slowing down almost to a standstill in the air, like really slowing down, these fireballs slowing down. They also, by the way, there's also a fireball in The Wizard of Oz, aside from Glinda the Good Witch being a fireball, or an orb. The Wicked Witch of the West challenges the Scarecrow and throws a fireball at him, right? This is also the origin of what I believe to be wizard's fire, okay? So there are wise men in the world to come and in the ancient world that has been forgotten about that I call Ancient Oblivion, which, by the way, you can go buy a copy of. I have a book called Ancient Oblivion, The Plasma Apocalypse, all about the plasma and its role that it plays whenever the apocalypse comes. And Ancient Oblivion Return to Hyperborea, which focuses more on those terrestrial pillars of ionized light that shoot up into the heavens, and specifically the one that comes out of Mount Meru at the center of the world, right? But anyways, fireballs, wizard's fire, so this can be created or recreated or played with, recreated, right? By people, if you know what it's comprised of, if you know how to project it and you know how to ionize it or whatever. If you meet the right conditions, you can make wizard's fire, right? Anyways, these are all things that are true from ancient times long forgotten, or auld lang syne. And we're starting to see the old ways return. And I get excited and I see the omens and the signs of all of the things collectively from the old world that are just peeking out their little heads right before the end as an omen of what's to come. We're getting a taste of what is to come now, being this transitional reset, this great shift that the earth is currently going through and goes through cyclically in loops and patterns, right? And we're on the precipice, we're on the verge, we're on the edge, and it's just around the corner. It's just on the other side of the horizon. And these are one of the signs and the omens that I look for. So if you see these videos of little balls of light that are settling over major areas, or you see these balls of light that are shooting out of wildfires and stuff, these are the tricksters. These are the will-o-wisps. These are the playful spirits of old that would dance about, and they would set things on fire as they danced. Right? And this is where I believe many of these wildfires come from, and why they're so diverse, and why we have so many happening right around the exact same time. Do you think it's just happens to be everybody's camping all at once, and everyone's just haphazardly not putting out their campfires, which are usually, away from everything that can be caught on fire or whatever? Listen, I'm not saying it's not those things. I'm saying that there's a more reasonable explanation from my perspective, which is all at one time, around the same time, the earth releases massive amounts of gas. That gas takes various forms. That gas can do various things. One of the things it can do is set brush, grasslands, forests, and whatnot on fire. It can set them ablaze. Now, those gases and the electromagnetic currents, the question now is, if we want to involve ourselves, like let's just say that there's, you know, a religious group out there that believes that Hollywood's being punished right now. That wouldn't be far-fetched. I haven't heard anyone say that, but I'm sure that that's a theory that's out there, that Hollywood's being punished. Let's just say that that's the theory, right? Well, could that actually be possible? Based on the electromagnetic signature of those souls and spirits that live within that area, could they be attracting these plasmoids to the area and actually inadvertently, subconsciously starting these fires themselves just by being evil people and therefore drawing judgment to themselves naturally? I think that's a possibility. I also believe that in the world to come, these act as the Valkyries of old that decided who lived and who died. These were the flying serpents and the seraphim and the angels that came down to judge the living. Why? Because they see things electromagnetically. They see in the electromagnetic spectrum, which means they can read your aura. They can see through to the heart of you. They can see what kind of a person you are. Now, depending on if you have an overabundance of positive or negative energy, they might be repelled away from you, and therefore, just by your very status as a spirit being, you would repel the ghosts and whatnot, and you'd be safe. Or, most likely, and in most people's cases, based on what I see in the world around me today, these balls will roll after you and come towards you because they will be attracted to you. It really has nothing to do with, they're trying to judge you and they're trying to zap you or eat you or whatever. It's just that they like you. They are like you. They're attracted to your energy, and so they will start floating towards you and get closer and closer. So, anyways, that takes us into a whole another topic. I think I've said enough for today, so I'm going to wrap things up. I want to thank everybody that has been checking out my website. I've been getting a lot of really good feedback and reviews and stuff. And, it's I've been working on that website now for many years. So if you haven't checked it out, go check it out. All of the main tabs are free to the public. There's also a 24-hour cram session so that you can check out all the members-only tabs and stuff and, learn as much as you can in 24 hours. Try it out. See if you like it. If you want to show some support and take your time with it, you can, join as a member or whatnot. And my books are also available. Okay, so Ancient Oblivion, The Plasma Apocalypse. I sell that personally. I just wrapped up my last 2 packages, which are one's going overseas, one's going out to California. When people order my books, I handle everything personally. If you order it off of Amazon, you can just get a vanilla book, and that's it. It'll be $40, and you get 1 copy, 1 book, nothing else. If you order it from my website, I autograph each one of those. I package each one of those in a special cool looking black box. I've got JayDreamerZ tape that I personally handle. It takes me a long time to wrap these things because I put a lot of love into it, actually. I also include mini posters that are JayDreamerZ themed and the Plasma Apocalypse and Ancient Oblivion themed and stuff. My own bookmarks, exclusive bookmarks that I myself have created. Right now, if you purchase on my website, you can get a lucky JayDreamerZ coin. I just throw those into all of the recent purchases, while supplies last. And there's some other trinkets and merch and stuff that I make myself and I offer on my website. And that's how I pay my bills, keep the lights on, and support myself. So thank you so much for checking it out. Thanks so much for being a part of the Good Vibe Tribe and sharing your comments and theories and ideas with one another. And that's it. Until next time, I'm JayDreamerZ saying good vibes and goodbye.